So do you know where the equator is? I'm Coach Daniel, and today we're going to be talking about the equator and what that has to do with tennis. Wait, actually everything, but not that equator. We're going to be talking about the equator of the ball and how that impacts topspin. I'm going to show you how this special ball with these 3 X's is going to dramatically change your game. I'm Coach Daniel, Creator Hammer Tennis, and if you're new to the channel, do me a huge favor, guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification. That way you're going to get notified of all the new Hammer Tennis videos that are coming out. And so today what we're going to talk about is how understanding the equator of the ball, how your swing path is angled, which creates your initial launch angle, and how we can move our racket as we're hitting the ball, how that's going to affect giving us better topspin. And so I get a lot of questions from you guys about where do we hit on the ball relative to its equator. And so as you can see here, I've drawn a line on this ball on my teammate. And if you haven't checked out the review on the teammate, be sure to check out the review. Put a description in the, or a link in the description below about the teammate there. So you can see here how I've drawn a line around the equator and I've put these 3 X's on the ball. So one concept that is paramount to understand is how when we're hitting our shot, your swing path is going to indicate where the actual true equator of the ball is, okay? And so most people, when they think of the equator of the ball, they think about the equator being this line that is flat with the court. But in reality, the true equator of the ball is going to be a line that also indicates the swing path of your racket, which is going to be the angle in which you launch the ball upward. So this is where a lot of players get kind of tripped up. If you hit, even if this line were angled, if I push on this line, this ball isn't going to spin. But the moment, if I push it off the center, it's going to spin. So as I've discussed in our Truth About Topspin video, if you're pushing on the center of mass, you're not going to get spin. But as soon as you push off the center of mass, that's how spin's created. So a lot of coaches talk about brushing, but all they're really talking about is creating a path that's nearly vertical. So you're just going to be clipping the ball, the back of the ball. And so what you want to do to get a driving shot with topspin is to have your path angled. What we find is about a 40-degree angle is what you're going to see in most high-level players. And so by launching the ball at that 40-degree angle, it gives you enough space for the ball to work down because of the topspin. And so you've got to launch the ball up because the initial path that we want the ball to go is forward and up. We've got to get the ball to go forward to the other side of the court and up. But here's what's really cool too, is about topspin is if I hit this ball and I start to take my racket, so I hit the first X, you can see the ball is going to want to spin. Then I try to move my racket to the second X, and that's going to apply the leverage. So by going from the first X to the second X, I'm going to apply leverage. My initial contact is going to create the spin, and then the third X is just kind of an X to help us kind of feel closing the face. And if I do that at this upward angle, again about 40 degrees, the initial path of the ball is going to be forward and up, and then the topspin. So if you recall in the Truth About Topspin video, topspin is a pressure force. So just like any other pressure, it takes time, the pressure builds up. And so as the ball, it travels further through the air, the pressure becomes greater. So the initial path is forward and up, then the topspin kicks in, and as we know, topspin makes the ball go down. So by launching the ball up, I'm going to hit it forward and up, and then I'm going to hit a topspin to make the ball go down. So as I'm hitting this ball, if I hit just slightly above the equator, the ball is going to spin forward. I go to the second X, that's going to apply my leverage, and then trying to hit the third X is going to help me keep my face closed. I don't want my face to pop open. All right guys, so the key to understanding this is, again, there is no set equator of the ball. So a lot of people are asking this question, like, do I hit above or below the equator? The equator is just the center line of your swing path. You're setting the equator of the ball depending on how you're swinging. Your angle of attack is what creates this equator. So if I'm swinging flat, that would be the equator of the ball. If I'm swinging at more of an angle, that is the equator. I'm setting that halfway line with the ball. Another way to think about this would be, which is cool, again with the teammate, I can take the ball off the tee here. So another way to think about this would be if I put this ball on the stick here, this is going to be the equator of the ball. This is always the equator of the ball now. If you want to think of what's always an equator. The equator is always the center of the ball in relationship to how you're swinging into this ball. So if I'm swinging flat, the equator is here. The more angled I get, now this is the top half and bottom half. And so that's one thing that tricks a lot of players is if I'm like this is the top, this is the bottom, not this is the top, this is the bottom. So then when we say hit the top of the ball, the top might be more of the back to some people. This point right here, which is why I have this X there, that point is always the top of the ball. That's the top of the ball here. It's still the top of the ball here. See? So if I'm hitting topspin, I have to hit the top of the ball to make it go down. That is the only way. There is no other way. If you're brushing and hitting the back of the ball, if you think you're brushing the back, you're still hitting the top of the ball, but what's happened is now you're swinging at an angle like this. And then your racket comes around this way, but you're still hitting the top of the ball. But the top of the ball is now the back of the ball. So when you have coaches say, well, they hit up the back of the ball, they're hitting the top of the ball because of their swing path. The equator is just the halfway line of your swing path. So if your swing path goes straight up and matches that, then that is not the back, that's the top. It has to be to create top spin. So if I'm hitting underspin, now I'm hitting, or slice, I'm hitting the bottom of the ball. It's just the exact opposite. So it's important to understand there is no set equator to the ground. The equator of the ball is set on the angle of your swing path or your initial launch angle. All right, and so you may wonder, again, if I'm swinging up like this, again, if a lot of players, I know they brush or they kind of roll and they swing up, again, your path is just so vertical, you're still hitting the top of this ball, and again, in relationship to the equator of your swing path. Because now my swing path is straight up. You may say, well, what's wrong with that, Coach? And so one thing is I'm not going to be able to get that leverage into the ball like we've talked. So I'm getting all my power out of momentum. I see a lot of players who swing that way. They've got arm braces, they get tennis elbow, because that's a lot of force on your forearm that you're jerking the racket across the ball. You're also going to be pulling your racket immediately off the target line. And so that's when we start shanking the ball, we clip the bottom of the frame, we hit the top of the frame. I see a lot of players who swing that way have big issues with clean contact. The other thing too is when I'm going straight up like this, what's the initial path of my racket is up. There is no forward, it's all up and up. So the ball is just going up. As opposed to if I'm launching it at about a 40-degree angle this way, my initial path is forward and up. See, when I swing straight up, I'm just going up, and the only thing making the ball go forward is the racket. The ball's bouncing off the strings. And so that's where a lot of you players have problems with just kind of these fluffy topspin balls. They just kind of roll out, they spin out, they dive into the net, or they just sit up on the other side of the court. They don't have a whole lot of pace to them. They may have a ton of spin, but they lack that driving, that penetrating pace into the court. And so by applying the leverage with the 3 X's, by going forward, I'm going to hit a significant amount of spin and pace. See, and so that's why we've designed the method to hit the ball this way. So that way I'm going to be getting forward and up initial angle, let the top spin build up, then it drops the ball into the court. And so I'm still going to be getting some pace and spin. All right, so one thing though is you don't want to confuse the equator to always being this line that's flat with the court. And so what you can see here is if I start to angle my shot upward, and again, you want to have some room so underneath this line, because that's where the ball is going to work with topspin. If your path is like this and you hit topspin, the only place that's not going to make it over the net. You have to work the ball up enough to give it some air to work that topspin back down. So now the more I'm angling up that I'm launching the ball, you can see now, if I were to hold this line flat, that X may be below what most people are calling the equator of the ball. See, and it's still possible. If I swung at such a steep angle, my face might even look open to some people, but as soon as I hit that, the ball is going to roll forward. So I can swing up and the ball is going to have topspin, even if it may look like my face is slightly open, because in relation to my path, my face is closed, again, about a 45-degree angle. So even starting that, so that would be, for instance, if I might need to hit that high, if I'm really far at the baseline, I really need to get some air under the ball, maybe I'm trying to hit a topspin lob, something like that. For most shots, again, I'm gonna be working about a 40-degree angle is what we find for really driving a ball with topspin and some pace. So, one way to practice this is to hold your racket about halfway up. What you can see then is their grip will kind of help you see the angle and the swing path that you're swinging. And so I can just practice by, if I go in to hit the ball and it's like this, that's way too flat of a swing. If I'm like this, then I might be too steep. I want to have it about a 40-ish degree angle. I'm going to work on rotating in. I'm going to hit the first X. I'm going to apply leverage to the second X, and then I'm going to try to hit the top X. And then by doing that, I'm going to kind of go around the corner of the ball. And so that's going to help me hit the ball with spin, and that's going to help keep me on plane. So I'm going to start here, I'm going to hit, and so again, my equator is really through here, my handle. And then I'm going to make contact, I'm going to apply the leverage, and then I'm going to extend out. And then after I get more comfortable with that, I'm going to drop my hand from the middle down. And so automatically, here's what's cool again, is automatically by taking my hand from here to there, I'm going to increase my power simply because I've increased the length of my lever. So by working here, you should start to feel a good, you're going to hit the ball with some pace, but then as soon as you drop your hand down, you're going to instantly get more power because you've increased the length of your lever now. I'm going to start practicing hitting the contact. Again, my face is closed, contact, apply leverage, try to hit the top of the ball, and you can see how that ball is going to spin and head straight down that line. All right, guys, so the next time you're out playing, just try to envision these 3 X's on the ball. That's going to help you get that good top spin and leverage into the shot. That's going to help you hit better shots, which is going to help you win more points and more matches. So I've been Coach Daniel for Hammer Tennis. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, give us a like, put those comments below. Love to talk tennis with you guys. So until next time, catch you later.